Welcome into the Michigan State Hockey Hub. As this week we have former captain Mike Ferrantino. Mike, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you, Clay?
I'm doing well. It's funny, we were talking before we started recording. I was asking you if you had Coach Cole, and it really just made me feel kind of old because I remember watching you play, and it doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but I guess it was 2012 through 2016, right?
Yep, exactly.
I'm sure it doesn't feel that long ago though, does it?
No, I mean it does and it doesn't. It's funny. I was thinking the other day it's been 10 years since I started there, which seems like a long time, but
Yeah.
it doesn't feel that long in real time.
So how did you get to MSU? That's where we want to start. Kind of juniors, where you grew up, and how that recruiting process went that led you to Michigan State.
Yeah, so I'm from Plymouth. I grew up playing for Compure here, and I first probably connected with MSU a little bit. I played U18s for Compure, and it was Coach Newts at the time. Had just some brief conversations with him, and I was drafted by Omaha. Went there to their camp, and it was pretty quickly after that that I went on my visit to MSU and a few other schools. But once I got to MSU and talked with I was coaching Asses at the time and Newts and Coach Miller, it was pretty obvious that's where I wanted to be.
Yeah, and you had a very successful career at MSU. 148 games played, 34 goals, 45 assists, 79 points. Obviously, wore the C. Were you a captain 1 or 2 years?
My junior and senior year.
Junior and senior. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the captain right before you?
Greg Wolf.
That's right. That's right, man.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah, you all had a similar game, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Outstanding list of awards as well. Just an accomplished career there. And when I was doing some research, trying to find some video for this, I did find a video of you at the picture. Those of you on YouTube can see the top right of your screen here is the outdoor game.
Oh, yeah.
And that was in Chicago. I actually drove from Kentucky to Chicago that day to watch that game and drove back all in one day.
Oh, no kidding.
I remember it was delayed because of the sun or something. But there's a funny video of you trying to take a hike and throw a glove as if it was a football. But so you played in 2 outdoor games, right?
Yeah, I played there at Soldier Field, and then we also played at Comerica.
Yeah, Detroit.
Twice at Comerica for the GLI one year.
Yeah, and as a fan, those are always just cool. It's just aesthetically pleasing, just watching a different atmosphere. What do you think of playing outdoor games as a player?
It was a lot of fun. Like you said, I think the Soldier Field game, we got delayed a few hours. I remember having to have a second pregame meal and things before, and we were, I think, the first game, and there was one after us too that ended up going off really late. But they're a blast. I mean, anytime you get an event like that, especially at Soldier Field or Comerica, where it's really neat venues. Comerica, obviously being from Detroit, was really cool to play a hockey game out there.
Yeah, I always thought that those outdoor games were cool, but I've always heard some negative reviews from players just with the ice conditions. And
that going in though too. It's not going to be perfect, right? There might be sun, it might be windy. The wind's the one thing that no one really thinks about, but it makes a little bit of a difference when you're attacking two ways. During the game or defending into the wind.
Never would have thought of that.
Right, yeah, and I remember Comerica was really sunny. You almost had to try and avoid the blue lines and the goal creases because it was starting to obviously the sun was starting to go through. And I don't remember the issue. I think it was an ice issue with Soldier Field too, but I think it was that all 4 teams skated, morning skated there or the day before, and it kind of
a
little bit, and I don't think they were quite ready for that.
Now the sweaters that you all had in this picture here were so awesome. For the game against Michigan, just had Spartans on the back and gold on the nameplate, Spartan head in that gold on the front. Do you have a preference of what your favorite sweater was at your time?
I remember I think it was my sophomore year, we brought back the scripts. I think it was my freshman year, we just had the head. And so the scripts were cool. Obviously, that's iconic, right, for Michigan State hockey.
Sure.
So we love those ones. Obviously, the special jerseys, those ones at Soldier Field. And then the Comerica, we had the call it like the New York Ranger style Spartan. I think they're
Oh,
1960 jerseys or 60, might have been 66 team. So those ones
yes.
are neat. So fortunately, Team McGee let me hang on to a few of those, so I still have them. And actually, that Soldier Field one's framed in my house.
That's awesome. So the one that Mike's talking about here, if you all can't picture it, it's the one that starts from the shoulder and goes kind of across the body in a downward angle with Spartans, like the New York Rangers, as he mentioned. Those are so clean. I do think that's from that '66 team.
Yep.
Um, they've worn those a couple times. I love those. Oh my gosh, I love those. I hate the ones with the number on the front that they wore a few
Yeah,
years ago.
I just missed those. I think that was the year
I
after.
know, yeah, yeah, they didn't last very long. That
Yeah.
some football looking jerseys.
Mhm.
Um, so you had a a lot of fun years, I'm sure, at Michigan State. The team wasn't always incredible or anything, but what is your favorite memory from your time at Michigan State?
Yeah, I think looking back, it was a really cool experience going into the Big Ten. Right, I played 1 year in the CCHA, and then you get into the Big Ten, and you're going to all the big schools and the big rinks more often, and so that was a lot of fun. I think anytime you go into those buildings, they're usually full too, so it made it a lot more fun to play. Um, I think that the outdoor games, like you mentioned, were great. A lot of fun there, and then even the games at Joe Louis, against Michigan were always a blast.
Yeah.
You know, easy ones to get up for. A lot of friends and family in the stands, and winning the duel in the D. That one, I think it was the first year, was a lot of fun.
Yeah, is that what this trophy is from, right? Is that the Jewel in the D trophy there in this picture?
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Um, Now, the GLI is something I'm sure that means a lot to you growing up in
Mhm.
the area. I feel like I've been to the GLI, I think 2 or 3 times, and each year I go, it's usually kind of midweek, right around that Christmas to New Year's area where a lot of kids are out of school and whatnot, and you go and it's like every single kid that plays any variation of hockey, no matter what age, is there in their, like, gear, their, like,
Mhm.
travel sets and whatnot. It's a really cool atmosphere. Um, what are your memories from the GLA, not only as a player, but growing up in Michigan?
Yeah, obviously, I grew up going to it. Just kind of like you said, it was always a blast, and you go watch Michigan State play. And at the time, I didn't have a big preference in school, so just going for good hockey, and obviously, really, had a blast, enjoyed it, and then getting to play with it, play in it was really special.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's kind of that time of year where everybody's home. Maybe family's home for Christmas, and or friends are home from college, so you kind of get to play in front of everybody. So that was always a lot of fun. Something you really look forward to.
Now, one thing that I'm sure you are very proud of is being a captain at as we've already touched on, but you're a captain for 2 years at Michigan State, and part of being a captain is obviously kind of being the backbone bone of the locker room. And we don't need to beat around the bush here. Michigan State was not the best team
Right.
during your time there, and they've struggled a little bit since then as well. But how do you keep motivation during a time like that when it's and we saw it this year this previous year with the Spartans where they were doing pretty well going into the break.
Mhm.
Then they hit that Big Ten schedule right out in January, and they lost, 10 to 12 or whatever it was to finish out the year. How do you keep motivated when you know that you're not only having to do it for yourself, but also kind of be the backbone and the leader of the team?
Yeah, I think it starts with your team, right? I was fortunate to play with a lot of guys that were very, I'll say, strong mentally. They were very self motivated, and a lot of times too, our record I don't think was as good as our team was.
Yeah.
And part of that was just we were young. Part of it is we got in the Big Ten and had to play Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, everybody all the time, and so it as far as keeping everybody motivated, you always come back to we're at Michigan State playing Big Ten hockey. Like, you can sit there and feel sorry for yourself if you want, or look at the big hill you got to climb. But at the end of the day, it was an awesome place to be, and you kind of kept coming back to that. And also say too, there weren't too many games that we were getting blown out either. Like it was like
Yeah.
it seemed like we just couldn't quite click at the right time to find a big goal or find whatever it was. for us. So it was a challenge for sure, but something that I had a lot of help with, and my teammates and coaches helped me with.
In 2014-15, I think it was actually pretty good. I think you all were right around 500, maybe a game above, something like that. It was a close race throughout. Good goaltending, kind of some vets on the blue line. I mean, that team was a lot of fun. What do you remember from that season?
Yeah, that year was probably our best year that I was there. But yeah, like you said, I think Jake Hildebrand, he was an All-American that year, and that gave us a ton of confidence, obviously. And that team, I want to say we were like, I don't know, 5-10 before Christmas, and then flipped it after Christmas. Like, it just seemed like it, finally clicked, and we had played a lot of young players for that, first half of the year and even the year prior, and it just finally started to work for us. So it was a lot of fun. I remember, I think we were leading the Big Ten going into the last weekend of the year, if I remember right. And I think it was against Michigan too, and we split, and Minnesota ended up winning both. But it was a lot of fun. Obviously, anytime you're winning, it's a little more fun than when you're struggling along.
Yeah, and you mentioned Minnesota, and it's funny. As I was going through YouTube. So first off, let me backtrack. Do you remember your first career goal? Who it was against?
Yeah, I do. Bowling Green.
So I looked on YouTube for 2 hours trying to find it for this.
Really?
Could not find it anywhere. I mean, I was in like deep Bowling Green archives of their YouTube everywhere, but I did find a couple videos. So I noticed that you played really well against Minnesota. Like, you didn't like put up a ton of points or anything, but for whatever reason, I remembered you against Minnesota was always good. And is it something about that rink being bigger that you liked, or was there some personal vendetta that you had against the Gophers? What was it?
I don't know. I guess probably part of it was the rink, right? It's the biggest rink I've ever played on still to this day. Big Olympic sheet with deep corners. And I remember my first series ever was at Minnesota. That was kind of my welcome to college hockey moment. You looked over and there's like, I don't know how many NHLers. They had 6 or 8 guys that ended up playing in the NHL on that team. But they were a team that, they're obviously super skilled, and you kind of had to try and slow them down and play with an edge and get them off their game, which kind of fed into the way I played.
Yeah, so I have this video we're going to play here. This is from Minnesota.
Shootout at Munn Ice Arena. First period in this one, Adam Wilcox can't clear. Matt Barry wins the board battle. He finds Michael Ferrantino. 4th straight game with a goal for Ferrantino as the Spartans go on top 1-0. Same.
What do you remember about that? 4th straight game with a goal?
I remember going behind the net and thinking, I really hope he still has the puck when I get it on the other side. If not, I was going to be way, way far away from my net. But I remember that year playing with Matt Barry was awesome. I had a few of thins goals that were little tap-ins like that, so I owe a lot of that to him.
It's extremely hard to compare other sports players, popularity, greatness, whatnot. It's really unfair and kind of, I don't like doing it. But I'll go down and saying Matt Barry is one of the more underrated MSU athletes in a long time. And he was really, really talented scorer. I mean, I tweeted out a video the other day of, I think it was like 2012 or something, when he had a hat trick at home at Munn against Michigan with over 7,000 people in the stands and the place just going crazy. And I'm excited for Michigan State hockey to get back to that level. Now, I do have one more video here. Let's see if you remember this goal.
Over to the far side, held in by Boyd. Boyd in the circle, takes a shot, bounces down in front, shot, goal! Mike Ferrantino ties it up.
I love that celebration there, too.
I think that had to be freshman year.
Yep, it was.
Yeah, I remember didn't have too many of them that year, so I got I want to say that might have been my first one at Munn, too. Which probably fed into it a little bit. But I remember that game. I think it was one of the first games I was there that Fox Sports Detroit was doing the game.
Yeah.
And Ken Daniels was on the call, and that was cool to hear him call it as well.
So that game that we showed, the clip of you scoring against Minnesota, do you remember how that game finished?
Trying to remember. That had to be my sophomore year. Was that the one? I don't know. We went to
that was the shootout.
Okay, I remember.
Right?
Okay.
So that feeds in the player who made the goal for Michigan State that day during the shootout. was JT Stengline, if you all remember that name. Jake Hildebrand made the big stop to win the shootout at number 1 Minnesota. Now, you had told me that you were with JT this weekend. He got married this past Saturday, which leads me to the question of who are some of the teammates that you still keep in touch with to this day?
Yeah, I'm lucky there too. There's a lot of guys that are still around the area here, and we hang out quite often. Obviously JT, Jake Hildebrand, Mac McEachran, Brent Darnell, Ryan Keller, who am I missing? Connor Wood, Ed Minnie. I know I'm missing a few, and they'll probably give me a hard time for this. But there's Justin Humayan. That's one where I see a lot. So there's still a lot of guys. Greg Wolf's still in the area. There are a lot of guys from, not only my class, but class around that we had a lot of Michigan guys at that time. So it's worked out. Post college, we all get together often.
Yeah, those are some names that I love to hear. I mean, Connor Wood, for whatever reason, when you said his name, first thing I thought of was the goal that he scored against North Dakota when Michigan State traveled to North Dakota and had a great weekend there. So moving on to your professional career. So after you left Michigan State, you played a single game for the Toledo Walleye. Is that true? I'm going to ask you about that. That was in 2015-16, so right after you graduated, which we'll get into. Then after that, the Florida Everblades from 2016-2017. That's 67 games, 20 goals, 21 assists, 41 points. That's a hell of a year. Charlotte Checkers after that for 2017 and 18. 21 games played, 3, 4, and 7 stat line there. So Toledo Walleyes, walk me through the process of I'm at Michigan State, my season ends, I'm playing professional hockey very soon after that. How does that process work?
Yeah, I remember obviously our season ended, and I want to say it was the weekend after. First of all, immediately when your season ends, you start getting calls from a few teams. I remember I really didn't want to go play somewhere for a few weeks. I still had a few classes to finish up, and quite honestly wanted to enjoy college a little bit over my last couple of months there.
Yeah.
And I think it was, a few days later when actually he just got hired by the Wings. Derek Lalonde was the coach in Toledo at the time. And he called and just said, "Can you come play one game?" He's like, "We're short, guys for whatever it was, Friday or Saturday night." And I was like, "Yeah." And, I'd come down and play one. So it was actually funny. I drove down, literally played in the game and drove back. But it was a good experience. It was actually a good eye opener into pro hockey and kind of gave me a little bit of experience heading into the next year.
That I don't know why, but that's just like absolutely hilarious to me.
It happened fast. It was kind of a funny day.
Do you have the jersey? The sweater?
No.
Oh man, you got to find a way to get that. You've got to.
They might have taken my name off and given it to the next guy that played.
Yeah. So after that, you go to Florida and have a very successful year. Tell us a little bit about your year down there in Florida, and were you getting close? I mean, a stat line like that, when you put that up, I mean, you started to get close to the call up to the AHL at that point.
Yeah, it was. I obviously really enjoyed Florida. It's hard to beat Florida weather and playing hockey and golf and all that stuff. So from a lifestyle standpoint, it was great. Team was great. I can't say good enough things about the organization either. I had signed a 2-way American League East Coast contract with Charlotte in Florida. Obviously got sent down from Charlotte, but it ended up working out. I probably wasn't quite ready for that. And had a fun year in Florida. I got to meet a lot of great guys, and like I said, it was made for a really, really fun year down there.
So there was a few former Michigan State players that played for Florida as well. Were any of them on the team with you?
Matt Berry was there with me then.
Okay. I thought
and Joe Cox joined after. Yeah, he would have graduated the year after me, and then he came down and played, the last, whatever it was, 15, 20 games of the regular season with us.
I love Joe Cox.
Yeah.
I love
that. Yeah, that's one name I forgot. He'll get mad at me too. So.
I need to get him on here if he'd be willing to.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
I want to talk about him killing that penalty against Penn State when he blocked 3 or 4 shots.
Yeah, that was special.
Yeah, man, Matt Berry had a good professional career too. That guy's just awesome. So then you get your chance.
He's still playing. He played last year.
Is he?
He was in Toledo, I believe, last year, and had a good year. Yeah, played with Grand Rapids, I think, too. So yeah, he's still kicking. Mm-hmm.
Him and Tanner Sorensen both just putting up numbers. I love that. So then you do get a chance at the AHL with Charlotte in 2017, 2018. What type of adjustment was that for you? And what was that experience kind of like?
Yeah, it was great. Obviously, I think Jake Chelios was there with me, another guy I still think a bit. So he kind of took me under his wing and had a lot of fun with him. But it was a bit of an adjustment. Obviously, at the East Coast level, it's a little bit, I don't want to say less skilled, but there's not the high end skill that there is. Right. In the American League, you're playing against, a lot of first rounders, a lot of guys that are going to play in the NHL or have played in the NHL. So it's just a little bit tighter, a little bit crisper. But honestly, at some points, it made it a little bit easier to play because, you could kind of rely on where guys were going to be and guys were pretty good at getting you the puck and that sort of stuff. So, again, really enjoyed Charlotte.
Yeah. So you still follow the Michigan State hockey team to this day. I know that you said that you watch some games, you follow the scores and whatnot. Obviously, they haven't been very good. They're going through a transition right now. They brought in a new coach, Adam Nightingale. What can you tell us about Coach Knights? I know that I think you said you know him a little bit. Is that right?
Yeah, he was the director of hockey ops there when my freshman and sophomore year. So I got to know him quite well. We still stay in touch. We go fishing together in the summers and stuff. And I can't say enough good things about him, really. Not only as a coach, he was great for me coming into college. We watched, I think, every single one of our games back together my freshman and sophomore year. And as a guy that wasn't too prevalent on the ice those 2 years, it was awesome for him to do that. And I think he obviously knows the game. He's a great coach. He's a great communicator, motivator. But I think what sets him apart is he's just an awesome person. He's someone you want to hang out with and go get beers with and learn from. And I think he'd be a hard guy. If I was a recruit now going and meeting with him, he'd be a hard guy not to play for.
And it's already showing. I mean, he's landed some recruits that, and I know, in football and basketball, you have websites with stars and rankings that update every day. And hockey, it's like, oh, we see a kid, we rank him like one website does. And then it may be like a year before they even see him again. Like it's not as,
right. Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit more difficult to follow hockey recruiting, but they landed a 5-star guy who's, top 20 in the entire class recently.
Yep.
They've really been doing well on the recruiting trail. And part of that is also the new facilities. Have you had a look at those yet? I mean,
I haven't been up there yet. I'm planning on getting up there in a couple of weeks and going to check it out. So I'm excited.
Yeah, those new facilities are something that I've been watching them post all the pictures on social media and whatnot. And anyone that's attached to the program in any way, whenever I have them on, I always ask about it. I'm just like itching to see more.
I'm dying to get up there too. They look awesome. Obviously with the whole new side of the rink and it'll be great. Obviously with the weight room and stuff in there now. And like you said, with recruiting, it's going to make a big difference.
Yeah. So before we get you out of here today, just wanted to kind of ask, like, what are you up to now? Or are you still playing a little bit of hockey, even in an unofficial kind of men's league setting?
Yeah, I still skate every once in a while. It's still a lot of fun. It's better than getting on a bike or going for a run. You get great way to get out and meet people too. So yeah, I play, play on a team. I played on a team with actually a bunch of former MSU guys, a little bit older, but played with them for a while and find skates, in the mornings before work, that kind of thing. So it's still fun, still enjoy it, still watch a ton of hockey. It's, obviously I'll never be able to get rid of it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Mike, for stopping by and chatting with me today. And, I hope we get to do this again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for all, the spotlight you're putting on MSU hockey. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Go green.
Yeah, go white.